Now, people who do robotic process automation don't like me using this description, but it's a good one for PMO people to understand it. So if you look at Excel macros, because that's something I think most of us have had exposure to, they do a very, very good job of either recording an action and allowing you to play that back repeatedly, or you can start programming it and start using variables and all those kind of things to undertake a process. And I've seen PMOs where we're using quite complex macros to create processes in Excel that then go out to other tools and pull various bits of data together and send emails out. This is kind of that times a million. Because you can build out processes that cut across multiple systems, bring a lot of data together, and they can run repeatably. There's two main types of robots that are used, so-called attended bots, which are the ones that would sit on a PMO analyst or a help desk analyst machine, and they would help you undertake a process. So it might pop up asking you questions. It would shortcut a process for you. With COVID-19 at the moment, that's being used in a hospital in Dublin to help nurses who are have to take information out of one system, then dial up on a VPN to another system and data entry that in. That is a slow process for them. They can use this kind of helper bot to assist, to actually say, I want that data there in that, and it just does that process for them. It keeps the quality high and makes it a lot faster to do that. So it's kind of like keyboard shortcuts, but actually going across multiple applications and following that recording. The other side to it is this unattended bot, where you have a machine either in the cloud or a physical machine in your office that you leave running and runs these processes for you. And you'd either schedule that to run overnight, or you'd schedule it to run continuously throughout the day. If it was a big business process, you might end up with multiple machines being orchestrated, all running the process simultaneously. Going back to our airline example, if they wanted to do refunds, you might have a whole sea of these unattended bots processing those refunds and getting that information out to people. Or, as I have found out recently, processing credit notes. But that's a whole different story. We're not going to get grumpy about that one right now and bitter and twisted about that one. So in terms of what it looks like, what I've got on screen now, this is the studio for UiPath. It's not it feels not dissimilar to things like Visio when you start to play with it, where you have a process. And you're dragging in elements and starting to build this out. Write a line, assign a variable to this, create a data table in HTML. So you're dragging and dropping in all of these components to start building out your process. And where this gets clever is you can layer up those processes, and you can put these kind of cyclical processes in place that follow a whole load of rules and have a lot of error checking built into them. Now, to make this real for you, I'm not going to use a generic example. If you Google around on the internet, there are loads of examples of people using RPA to automate processes, mainly in finance, mainly in HR, a lot of contact center stuff. There isn't much PMO. So I will show you one now. And the other example we've got, if you go to the PMO flash mob site, there's an example I did there that was collating some information, putting it into PowerPoint presentations. What we're doing here, this is Confluence. Do we have people using Confluence? A few people nodding with Confluence. Yep. And people that use Confluence, do you use other tools as well in your PMO? Yeah, I'm seeing some more nods. So this is kind of a frustrating thing that we see a lot with PMOs. You've got Confluence is used by the software development team because they favor the Atlassian product. We've got your project managers using a PPM tool, and then we've got SharePoint somewhere else, and then we've got you've got your exec team just wanting things on email. What we're going to do here, I've got a couple of project examples. So this project here is a project that we're running with a client. Very, very simply, we've got a status in there saying it's green. We've got a timeline here. And if we look at this one here, there's an SEO project where I'm trying to improve my website. We've got a whole load of timelines in here for it. Now, what I want to do for these people, I want to be able to take this information out of this table, take this status report. I want to send a report out by email to my senior stakeholders for the project. I want to build out a timeline, but because these people aren't real project managers, and quite frankly, they're busy. It's as much as I can do to get them to put a table into their Confluence page. And I kind of think myself lucky that I've got to that stage with them at this point. So that is exactly what this process here is doing for me, grabbing that information of which projects we've got, looping through each of those projects. What it's doing in the background is building up an email for me. And when it finishes the process, what it should leave me is an email in my mailbox that has got those timelines in it. I can make the final adjustments to that email, and that can be sent out to the stakeholders. Now, there's only 2 projects here, but I want you to imagine an organization that's got 10, 15, 20 projects going on, and that we could use this when you start to see how something like this could start making things a lot faster for you. So what I'm going to do, let's just kick this off, and then we'll see if me promising to give you a live demo was a good idea or not. So this is the, let's close that. Let's just delete that from there because I don't want any emails in my mailbox to start with. Right, so I am going to run this process by hitting the run button. If I was using this in the office environment, I probably wouldn't have the studio on a machine. I'd either have a bot running it in the cloud, or I would be, I'd have a start run button on my machine. So what it's doing, it's going into Confluence, it's looking at the projects that I've got running, it sees there's 2 there, and it's starting to browse to the first one. From here, it's scraping the data off the pages. So it's grabbing the milestones, and it's grabbing that status information there. Now I want it to build me a timeline off the back of that. Oh, lovely. I'm genuinely hands-free, by the way, holding them up so you can see them. This is a tool called Office Timeline, and what this is going to do is take the data that we scraped, which we put into Excel. It's going to run through, you can see the bot clicking next, next, next at the bottom there, generating a timeline. We're going to save that twice, once as an image and once as a PowerPoint file, because it's useful to have these things in PowerPoint to play with. Now it does say it's failed at the bottom there. You can safely ignore that. What's happening is the bot's grabbing the file before Chrome has a chance to check that it's okay. It is good. Those little black boxes are where it's pasting the image back to the Confluence page. So whoever's looking at this project, they don't have to worry about building a timeline. They've always got the latest timeline sitting there on their page. So again, scraping the data, creating a timeline for it. Now, I have had something working like this in an organization where this is scheduled to run at 7 in the morning, which means when the PMO analyst who would ordinarily be sending this email out comes in, they can literally go straight to their inbox and they've got the draft email there waiting for them. It doesn't automatically send, because obviously we'd like them to have that little sanity check that we do still like to have to make sure everything is right. We like to put a little bit of commentary around it. That PMOs are more than the sum of just data pulled together. We add a lot of value by doing that analysis and then putting that information in place. And here we have, that has now finished. And let's see what this report looks like. So it's got the right date format on there. That's a good start. Again, this comes back to the quality point. It's going to be consistent with how it works because it does the same thing over and over again. It won't get bored. It doesn't matter if one analyst is doing it or another analyst is doing it. It's going to do it the same way every time. It's given us a nice heading there. I've got a little reminder in there to myself to add an exec summary here, include highlights from the projects, don't just include the good news. Nice signature there. I've put links in this email, so I've configured it so I can click here and link to the portfolio in Confluence if we want more detail. And we've just got our 2 projects in here. My SEO one, the status on that one was green. We're making good progress in all areas, which is lovely. I can look at the project page if I want to, and here's the timeline. So I've got this idea. It's like, right, we're up here, and this is where we're at. That's great. I get it. I understand it. And exactly the same with this Acme client version down here as well, that we're here. We're just coming up on a phase 1 review. Apparently, that's looking good. We don't anticipate any issues. And Friday morning is our big morning on Zoom, because that's when we find out whether the client is happy to sign off on phase 1 or not for us. So that gives you an idea of what you can do with some of the technology out there in terms of automating these processes. Let me just stop sharing that.